So it's time for us to go and take a look at the M1 MacBook Pro and see how this specific MacBook has held up or is going to hold up in 2023. Now, I loved this MacBook. I personally used this MacBook and bought it from 2021, I believe, up until about last year, when I went ahead and bought my M1 Pro 14-inch MacBook Pro. And what I can tell you is Apple did a great job with the M1 MacBooks. This was kind of their first foray into their M1 series with their ARM chipsets. And I think this was a tremendous choice for them to do. It took quite a bit of time for me to go ahead and upgrade from my 2015 Mac Pro. So before this M1 model, I was coming from a 2015 MacBook Pro that I was using from, I think, 2019 up until 2021. And I enjoyed that MacBook a lot. I also had a 5K iMac I was using probably for the majority of it too. But anytime I was traveling or I was going somewhere or whatever the case was, I was using my 15-inch MacBook Pro. And, it was the 2015 model. I liked it a lot. And the reason why I didn't want to upgrade mostly was because of the port selection. I really wanted to, keep my ports and I didn't want to carry a dongle with me. But then so many people were raving about how amazing the M1 MacBook Pro was. They also stated that it fixed a lot of the issues coming from the 2016 to 2020 MacBooks, like the broken keyboards, all this other annoying stuff. And I figured, hey, I might as well go and upgrade now and give it a chance. And I did. And honestly, I am so glad I did, because that little fear that I had about the dongles and carrying it around or whatever ended up getting fixed, and I really didn't even mind carrying a dongle around. It really wasn't that annoying. And then, literally a year later, as soon as I upgraded, Apple went ahead and made the 14-inch MacBook Pro, so I ended up spending even more money. Had I waited a little bit longer, I probably would have just bought the M1 Pro model. But regardless, if you want to go ahead and buy the M1 MacBook Pro, links will be down in the description. You can get it from there, and you can help support the channel at the same time. Now, on the outside of the M1 MacBook Pro, it came in basically the same body as the other 13-inch MacBook Pros before it. It was beautiful. It looked very, very nice. And it was very slim and sleek. The best thing about this MacBook was that you can go ahead and slide it into your book bag and move on with your life. It was a very small MacBook, and that was something I really did appreciate a lot from the MacBook series in general. I was coming from that 15-inch MacBook Pro, and that was a massive MacBook, and I thought I would miss the size, but I really didn't, and I didn't really mind the smaller size. At this time, this was the only M1 MacBook you could buy in terms of the Pro models. The other one was the 13-inch M1 MacBook Air as well, so it's pretty much the same size. So there was no big model as of that point. Now, flipping it open, this is where things, actually before we get there, the port selection on this MacBook was also a little controversial in my opinion. So on previous models of MacBooks, you could go ahead, especially on the MacBook Pros, you could go ahead and get either the 2 USB-C model or 4 USB-C model MacBook Pros. But with the M1 models, weirdly enough, they only kept it for a dual USB-C, option, which I think for probably a majority of people is fine, and I got through with it. It was kind of okay, but there were some times where things kind of got a little annoying. For example, sometimes I would love to be able to charge my MacBook on the other port on the other side. Sometimes if I'm laying in bed, I have to bring the wire around and charge it on the other side, where it would have been better if it was on the other side, if you know what I mean. And also sometimes dongles and little accessories that you plug in kind of take up 2 ports and they slide into the other side. And so it was hard plugging other things in, but I don't think it was that big of a deal. And I used it for over a year and I was kind of used to it. So it was kind of fine in that standpoint too. So in terms of the outside, I think that kind of covers it up. Now, internally, flipping this thing open, we did have that beautiful 13.3-inch Retina display. Now, I think it was a pretty good panel. Was it perfect? No, but I think at that moment it was very good. It pretty much stemmed from all the other Retina panels Apple made before this. You had kind of a thicker bezel up top, but you had very slim bezels on the side. You had the front camera there. It was a 60 Hz panel, so it wasn't 120 Hz or anything, but I still look at this panel and I think it looked very good. I think Apple couldn't, they waited until they made the M1 Pro models to take it up a notch a little bit more, but this was a very good screen and I like this screen a lot. Now on the bottom half of this specific MacBook, you did have the little trackpad, the keyboard, and the touch bar. So starting off with the touch bar, this part of the MacBook was the most controversial, and up until now, this is still one of the last MacBooks to actually have the touch bar. Since this, they haven't brought the touch bar back, unless you're talking about the M2 MacBook Pro, which is kind of a weird MacBook to even buy in the first place. But with this MacBook, I'll say, when I was using it, it was very annoying. The touch bar would glitch up a lot, but I don't think it was as bad as people were mentioning it. Of course, it was kind of annoying, but looking back, like I didn't hate it. I just know that sometimes if I wanted to go ahead and like increase or decrease the volume, I have to like click a little touch bar like button and then go ahead and drag it up higher or lower. And I feel like I didn't have a great experience with it, but I don't feel like I had a horrible experience with it too. It was just kind of like in the middle of the road. And looking back, I mean, I would much rather have the function keys that are physical like they are on the M1 Pro MacBook or on the M1 MacBook Air or M2 MacBook Air. But, you know, it is what it is and not much we can do about it here. The keyboard was also really nice. So this was coming from the horrible, way Apple approached their butterfly keyboards before. So now with these more travel keyboards with less likely of being broken, that was a very nice thing Apple went ahead and did. That was, I like that a lot. And that was one reason why I was kind of waiting, to actually go ahead and, upgrade my 2015 MacBook Pro at that moment, because I didn't want to give up the ports, but two, I also didn't want to go ahead and, have a MacBook that basically had a broken keyboard. I did not want to do that. I was really, really dependent on my, laptop at that moment. And with the M1 MacBook Pro, Apple kind of fixed it. And then you have the trackpad at the bottom, which was pretty nice, standard trackpad, not much going on with it. So that was that on the outside. Now this MacBook Pro, right, because of its performance and because of what it brought to the table, was able to replace not only my 2015 MacBook Pro, but also my 2015 iMac. My 5K iMac that was already pretty old at that, I was 6 years old at that moment, it replaced that one too. And that was pretty hard to do because, I had to spend more money on, the trackpad and the keyboard, which I already had, but also on a monitor. So, it really wasn't just, me using my MacBook. I docked it up basically every single day to my monitor, and it was a beautiful experience. Unfortunately, the M1 MacBook Pros can only dock up to one monitor at a time, so I couldn't do my dual monitor setup that I was using before, but eventually Universal Control came out on macOS, whatever the macOS version it came out with, and I was able to repurpose my older 2015 iMac actually, and I was kind of able to have a dual screen setup, and I just recently replaced that, and that kind of worked for a long period of time. So that was kind of an inconvenience. If you're somebody who wants to use dual monitors, you won't be able to do it on the M1 MacBook Pro, but I think that might be okay for a lot of people. The performance of this MacBook though is still very good. I still use my M1 MacBook Pro from time to time if I'm filming videos on my second channel or if I'm doing whatever, and it has been a beautiful experience, right? I have a great time with it. It's not perfect, and I definitely will tell you, with the M1 Pro MacBooks, I do feel like I'm getting a better performing MacBook, and also I feel like the fans are less, apparent, but the fans very rarely kicked on the M1 MacBook Pro. I was exporting like 4 or 5 videos at a time, just, ripping through videos every single day. I did have the 16 gigabyte of RAM option, and I think I may have like a terabyte of storage in there, and I was having a really good time with that MacBook. Throughout my whole entire time, I made a bunch of videos, probably thousands of videos on this thing. I played a bunch of games on this MacBook, and the emulation was great. And now it's been even better because these MacBooks have gone down in value so much because of the success of the next generation of MacBooks. We've already had a direct successor to this MacBook as well. So I will tell you, if you're able to go and buy one of these MacBooks for maybe, whatever model you have for a couple $100 cheaper than what it would have been brand new, I think it is a no-brainer. I think these are one of those MacBooks you could buy today, and you can use this MacBook for like 5 to 10 years from now. Maybe that might be a stretch, but you could easily use it for like 5 years from now, and you will still feel like you have a fast MacBook. In fact, I kind of think back to maybe like a 2015 MacBook Pro that I still have. Whenever I boot that thing up, whenever I, want to go into Windows Boot Camp, it still performs decent. Like the fans kick on, and it's not that fast of a machine, but that's like an 8-year-old MacBook. And even that wasn't that great. It was great when it first came out, but it was notorious of like having the fans on, and like people say the performance wasn't that great. But like now when I look at, the M1 MacBook Pros in 2020, I can think back like in 2028 that MacBook is going to hold up better than the 2015 MacBook Pros hold up right now. So take that as you will, but I think the M1 MacBook Pro is completely worth buying in 2023. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.